The moment she walks in, the energy shifts. People lean in, opportunities find her, conversations bend in her direction, and you've watched it happen enough times to know that whatever she has, it isn't on some resume. And I know you've spent so much time building your career, getting hotter, smarter, richer, becoming someone who's truly undeniable and impressive on paper. But no one ever taught you the other game that runs underneath every room you've ever walked into. That ends today. Hello, my muses. Welcome back to my channel where women who want everything learn to have their cake and eat it too. I'm your host, Nadeen, and I'm rebuilding the village women once had so we can have the right conversations and create lives that feel as good as it looks. Please subscribe if you're new so you don't miss any of our chats. Here's what I've come to understand about truly socially intelligent women. They are playing a completely different game than everyone else in the room. They understand power, they understand people, and they understand how to position themselves without ever looking like they're trying. I think of it as social chess, and it is one of the most under-leveraged skills an intelligent woman can develop for her career and for every relationship, every room, every version of the life she's trying to build. And the great thing about it is you can absolutely learn it. It's one of those things where once you see it, you can't unsee it. So here are 5 things you need to master to be the social chess grandmaster. As always, we don't gatekeep, so let's step into it. First, every room has a power map, so learn to read it within 60 seconds. Most people walk into a room and immediately start performing a version of themselves they think they need to be in that room. They're thinking about how they're coming across, what to say, who to approach, and because all of their attention is pointed outward at themselves, they completely miss what's actually happening in the room. The first move in social chess is to flip that entirely. You walk in and instead of asking, "How's my hair? How do I look?" you ask, what is actually going on here? Every room, dinner party, work meeting, social gathering has what I call a power map, and it has 3 elements. The first is an anchor. This is the person the room is emotionally organized around. This is the person whose mood sets the tone. Pay attention to where people's eyes go to when something funny happens, who they turn to look at to watch their reaction. That's the anchor. That's the person whose social approval the people in the room wants. The second is the connector. This is the person who knows everyone and is actively introducing people and initiating conversations and getting people together. They are almost always the most genuinely liked person in the room and the most trusted. If you want to integrate into a new social environment quickly, find the connector and treat that relationship with care. The third is the observer. This is the person who is saying the least, but watching everything that's happening carefully. The observer is the most underestimated person there. They are usually the most valuable to have on your side because they have seen everything and said nothing, which means they know things nobody else knows that they know. So here's the move. In any new room you step into, spend the first 5 minutes identifying these 3 people before you engage deeply with anyone. It takes practice. It's not comfortable at first. It pushes you to get out of your comfort zone. But once you can do it, you will never walk into a room not knowing how to position yourself again. Second, learn to actually read people past their personalities. We live in an era obsessed with personality frameworks, Myers-Briggs, Enneagrams, attachment styles, and look, I love them and I think they're so much fun, but they only tell you about a person's general wiring. Okay, they don't tell you what that person needs right now, in this very moment, in this dynamic. I've always found that people always tell on themselves, but not directly in what they say. I like to pay attention to what they brag about, what they complain about, or what they ask questions about. What someone brags about shows their insecurity. Really pay attention. The person who is constantly talking about their title or their salary or their connections is telling you that those things feel fragile to them and they need them validated. But don't confuse this with people who are actually just genuinely excited to share positive news, okay? That's different. Now, what someone likes to complain about reveals their values. If someone is always frustrated that people don't listen to them, they deeply value being heard and understood. If someone is always complaining that people are flaky, they value reliability and follow through. Isn't that kind of interesting that you can tell? And like when someone asks questions, pay attention to what they ask about because that shows their desires. The questions people ask in conversations are windows into what they're actually thinking about, working through, or wanting for themselves. Once you start listening at this level, conversations become very interesting and provide a lot of information. You start actually hearing people. And when you can hear what someone actually needs, not just what they're saying, you become someone they feel very comfortable around and trust because you made them feel understood. This is active, deep listening, and it helps build genuine connections and trust. Third, stop trying to be interesting and become interested. One of the most counterintuitive truths in social intelligence is that the women who are the most magnetic in social situations are almost never the ones who are trying to be impressive. They're the ones who are the most genuinely curious about the people in front of them. When someone is clearly very accomplished or intelligent, people expect them to be somewhat self-centered. So when you, a smart, beautiful woman, turn the full beam of your attention onto the person you're speaking with and asking them questions that really show you were listening, it is a little disarming because it's unexpected, so it creates an instant bond. Your intelligence is not your most powerful social asset. Your curiosity is. And here's a real-life application. Most people ask surface level questions in conversations. What do you do? Where are you from? How do you know so-and-so? These are fine, but they're not memorable. The woman playing social chess asks what I call second layer questions. She takes whatever answer you just gave her and goes one level deeper. You say you just got back from a work trip. She doesn't say, "Oh, how was it?" She asks, "What was the most unforgettable thing about it?" You say you're thinking about changing careers. She doesn't say, "Oh, really? Why?" or "To what?" She asks, "What finally made you take that decision seriously?" Second layer questions do something very important here. It signals that you are actually listening to them, and it invites the other person into a more interesting version of themselves, even if it's just for 10 minutes. And there's actual research on this. People don't rate conversations as good or meaningful based on how long the conversation was, but on how the conversation made them feel. And since most of us are walking around hoping to find someone who truly sees and understands us, being that woman for someone else, even for a moment, makes you unforgettable. Fourth, understand the difference between social capital and social debt. This is a framework I don't think gets talked about enough, and it completely changed how